Damn.
For sure. All right, we are live. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us once again for another episode of the Conscious Approach
Yeah.
video series on the YouTube channel. Man, appreciate y'all for tuning in. We have had a great week on the channel. We picked up a lot of subscribers over the course of the last 7 days. Man, we certainly appreciate y'all. My name is
Hey.
JV Wins. That is Dogon SS. Before we was kind of talking about this, a little bit before we hit live, but yeah, we kind of have these conversations all the time, whether we in front of a camera or not. So it's cool to see that some of the stuff that we kick on this channel is being receptive, is being received well by our little audience here on our little corner of the internet. So
Right.
before we get started with this week's topics, I always like to begin every video by saying, if you have not already done so, and you happen to catch wind on any of our content, whether it is this stream, any other stream, or whether it is one of our video uploads, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, man. We are trying to grow this little tight-knit Conscious Approach community. We certainly appreciate everybody who has done so thus far, and we appreciate everyone in advance who will do so in the future. But yeah, we just growing this thing out, man, making it bigger and better, doing our little thing over here on YouTube, man.
Yeah,
And we appreciate everybody who has joined us for the ride. Everybody who, contributes to the views, hits that like button, and especially everybody who leaves a comment to sort of, continue the dialogue well after we have hit stop on these videos. Because, we kind of live for that stuff, man. We have a good little time making these videos. So thank you to everyone who has joined the tribe. And thank you in advance to everyone who will join the tribe in the future. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that like button so that you can know each and every time that something new is published to this channel. Now, with that out of the way, we are going to go ahead and get things kicked off with a little relationship advice from one of our experts. One of our leaders in the hip hop community, whose opinion on important issues like relationships is highly valued. Young Miami from the City Girls, who makes music that is very pragmatic and useful and helpful and positive for the fostering of positive relationships for our youth and for our Black and brown people and for anyone else who likes to listen to this hip hop stuff. And if you cannot tell, I am being sarcastic as I say these things.
Come on.
But be that as it may, comments from individuals like this can serve as interesting discussion points. And this is no exception to that line of thinking. So very briefly here to provide some context, Young Miami recently spoke on something that can definitely put your relationship in a downward trajectory. In her opinion, you should not move in with a man because it spells doom for the relationship. So to provide any context for anyone who is unaware of the comments, I'm going to go ahead and share this screen. This is an article from Hot New Hip Hop. It says, Young Miami offers bold advice on moving in with men, quote, don't do it. Young Miami is once again getting attention from fans because of a tweet. The City Girls rapper is one of the most prolific tweeters in all of music and regularly gets attention for tweets where she espouses controversial views. Occasionally, she can spark wild debates among fans with her takes. A few days ago, she did it again with her views on moving in with a partner. Miami tweeted, quote, I miss my man. I just want to smell his neck. Oh, my God. In response, a fan told Young Miami that she should just move in with her man. In response to that suggestion, she quote tweeted saying, that's how you ruin a relationship. Don't do it. Subsequently, fans debated whether or not she was giving good advice as the tweet racked up over 4,000 comments and quote tweets. So yeah, there's a screen caption of the tweet itself. Says that's how you ruin a relationship. Don't do it. Young Miami most recently sparked controversy when the fans suggested that she could be using her platform more to address some of the laws being passed in her home state of Florida. Her response read, "Please tell me what the F I'm supposed to do when I got my own problems. The F Florida ain't my kid," end quote. So that's, related but unrelated. Be that as it may, her thoughts are, how do you ruin a relationship? By moving in with somebody. So she just doesn't think you should do it. Yeah. So she does miss her man. She's all about this relationship life, apparently. Kind of despite what the music that she makes would suggest. However, she doesn't think that you should move in because it is not a good idea. It will ruin it. So, what do you think? You think Young Miami is giving good advice out here? Do you think that the City Girls spokesperson is correct in saying that you shouldn't move in with your partner because it will ruin it? Ruin it, she says. It will ruin the whole thing.
Well, I say, as you say, she is the City Girl spokesperson. She is the ambassador. So their group embodies City Girl spirit. And one thing City Girl shouldn't do is be serious in a relationship and move in with a man. Now, she's quoting from the Book of Thought. And now, one thing about the Book of Thought, the City Girls have chapters in there. They're laying down the framework for the New Age people who are not aware of their masculine and feminine energy. So the gospel is being spread by one of its saints saying that, hey, look, ladies, I've tried this. You can't be city girls and out here winning, having hot girl summers and popping you-know-whats in the streets if you have a serious committed relationship. Now, if you live with somebody, they're going to see all your little cat movements. You can't sneak out. You can't do your city girls here. You can't do your city girls there. Things get serious. They start developing excuses, squirming. You can literally see them squirming. Their skin is crawling. They have to get out of the house and go thought. Why would they move into a situation when they constantly have to scratch that itch? So, as I mentioned, her quoting from the Book of Thought and the City Girls chapter that they have in there, she's preaching gospel to all of her followers. So now whether all of her followers are aware of, because clearly I'm sure some of her fans, took offense to that. And you should want to ask yourself, should you be a fan of a woman who thinks this way? At least about relationships, at least. But how about you, sir? How do you feel about this situation? Do you feel as though Young Miami was preaching some sort of gospel or the gospel? Should people really consider this?
Yeah, she's preaching gospel to those who move the way she does. Mm-hmm. So there's two schools of thought. There is the school of thought for people in general, but women more specifically, who date like her. And then there is the school of thought for people in general, but women more specifically, who are more traditional minded and date in a more reasonable, balanced way. For the women who think like Young Miami and who harbor that mentality, I'm on you. I agree with you. And this didn't occur to me until maybe 30 seconds before we started actually talking about this. For women like this, and this is going to sound very apathetic, but it is what it is. For women like this, who date in a very masculine way, who maintain options at all times, and who are constantly, or at least often enough, looking to upgrade from whatever their current situation is, even if their current situation is amicable and good and productive. It's difficult to do the hot girl summer shit. It's difficult to embody the city girl lifestyle if you're living with a guy, because if you're living with a guy, you can't cycle through your rotation of men in your phone as often, because that guy's going to notice it and he's going to start asking questions.
Right.
There might be some issues. There's going to be some friction. And women nowadays, not all, but it's certainly women who embody this type of thought process, this type of ideology. They like to maintain their own Holodex, as Ludacris once put it when he made that song years and years ago. And they like to have several guys on rotation. Usually each guy satisfies a particular need. Generally speaking, the guy who gets to live with the chick is the one who gets the privilege of satisfying the sexual need. But then there's also the financial needs, and there's also the emotional needs. There's also the supportive needs. And each of these are usually satisfied by different men at different times. Harder to maintain those various entanglements if you have a live-in partner, because the live-in partner is going to wonder, what is the purpose of all of these guys in your phone? It's going to ask questions, and it can lead to some complications. So best to just not move in with the guy, because it can ruin whatever relationship situation that you have that's going on with the main guy, the guy who gets the privilege of the box, the guy who you would be living with otherwise if you didn't think this way. Now, that's for the city girl chicks. That's for the, hot girl summer chicks. That's for the Meg Thee Stallion, that's for the current crop of, younger millennials and Gen Zers and younger who, kind of date in a freelance, free love kind of capacity. For, the people, and I would still argue that even though, this is becoming less and less the case, I would still say that statistically speaking, this is the majority of people. The majority of people who kind of want to do it in a balanced, reasonable way. I don't know how practical this advice is, because last time I heard, if a guy wants you to move in with him, that should be an indication that you have a strong relationship that has a future. So that should be one of the things that you look towards as a positive sign and step in the right direction. Oh, he actually wants me to move in with him. He's taking me seriously. And vice versa. If there's a guy out there and you ask a girl to move in with you and she says yes, that's an indication that she is also looking at this as a situation that has perhaps a fruitful future. So that's something that, contrary to what Young Miami is saying, for those who think in a more balanced way, would be an indication that this is a step in the right direction. But yeah, if you're not balanced and you're not on your square, and you want to maintain your entanglements and situationships, and at the very least, remove yourself from the possibility that you can become too emotionally attached to a man, so much so that, moving it, so much so that if you decide that you want to cut the cord, you feel less guilt-ridden because there was less of an emotional connection with this person, so that you can move on to greener pastures, then moving in certainly wouldn't help your cause in that regard, because if you move in with him, presumably the higher the likelihood of that emotional connection. So best to just steer clear of that stuff so that you can maintain the position that you want to maintain to be able to move on and, continue to ride the carousel at the highest level that you would like to ride the carousel. So the validity of, what Young Miami had to say really does boil down to which school of thought you come from. If you are from the New Age school of thought and your mentality is free sex, no consequences, polyamory, all New Age forms of relationships where there is a relationship, but there isn't, because there's always the next person or the next opportunity, then you don't move in because you don't want to compromise your ability to do that effectively. But if you're from the other school of thought where you kind of do things in a more of a balanced way, where you're on your square, I would say that she's actually telling the opposite story. And if you're, venturing towards actually living with an individual, you can at least take that as a sign that this is something that has a future. So it depends on which school of thought you come from, and which school of thought you are on. Be honest with yourself and just ride it out for whatever it is, based on however you look at it.
Oh, well said, bro. I agree 100. And in this situation here, she's not being, at least in this context, she's not being delusional about who she is and where she's coming from. And as you mentioned, you know, when they have their own apartments and stuff like that, or their own living space or whatever, just not living with the guy, you know, all their excuses can work. You know, I was asleep, you know, I was watching TV, I missed the phone wasn't in the room, you know, all this stuff.
Phone was dead, battery was dead.
Battery was dead, you know.
Yeah.
All of that stuff can fly when she's
Right.
just in her room by herself or whatever, or with somebody else. So the whole thing is, you know, having inappropriate conversations, all of that stuff can fly when she's got her own space. So these girls here that are capitalists on men and they play men, it's their hustle, it's their form of employment. So why would you move in? It doesn't even equate. You're literally limiting your options. So you know, there's a two-sided of the neck part. You know, women like this gonna claim they want to be married one day, and she talking about moving in is gonna ruin a relationship. It's gonna ruin it when you're immature. And doing the mature thing, doing a responsible thing is never fun, and it's always difficult, and that's why people don't choose to do it, and they rather just live in their own narcissistic society, in their own narcissistic world, and I, me, and you know, that's never going to work in a team unit like moving in and being a family. So with this mindset that's clearly run rampant across westernized societies, yeah, I mean, this is speaking true to a large population of women who think they want to be involved with a man, you know, and move in with him until they actually do and go, God damn, I'm actually a city girl. Yeah. Light bulb went off. Light bulb went off. Oh shit, I'm actually a city girl. I thought I really wanted the real thing. No, you don't. You still want to play. And it's a lot of people out here that are just playing, man. They're just playing. And all of this access, you know, to other people 24/7. I mean, how many people are keeping it loyal? There are people doing it, but the percentages are very low. I would say that these are rare people once you come across them. So, yeah, the thing is, yeah, there's two sides of the spectrum. And so the masses, whether they agree with her or not, actually agree with her. And but the people that actually want to be responsible, have something real for real, you know, this is definitely muddying the waters and putting more toxicity in the minds of people who may be on the fence, you know. So yeah, not a fan of Miss Golden Shower here.
She did say that, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, because she'll do whatever. Get that check. You know what I'm saying? And everybody know Diddy's unique lifestyle. Him and his fantasy camps and other shenanigans that he likes to partake in. So you got to listen to who you listening to, getting advice from. You know, look at what she did. But again, if you're part of the city girl world, they probably like the fact that she's getting peed on.
Yeah, so, it's the price of doing business. It's literally the price of doing business. Yeah, academics got on her like a week ago. Mm-hmm. They got some kind of internet beef going, and academics got on her for he basically was lamenting how she is talentless and her only real talent is pimping men. And he called out the fact that, you know, she's Diddy's side chick and how Diddy needs to come check her for saying disrespectful things publicly to him. And, you know, she went back at him, making it very clear that she is no one's side piece and that she will never come second to any other woman. But what is the value or the merit of that when you would, what is the value of saying that you would never come second to any other woman when you still live your life in such a way that you maintain a revolving door of men? Like, to me, it's a wash. There's no difference between the two.
Agreed.
Now, whether she's doing that or not, I believe if we are to believe that she practices what she preaches, then she does live that way. And if she doesn't live that way, then the fact that she makes music like this is very dangerous and problematic, because she's preaching a gospel that she herself doesn't even live by. And it's similar to other artists who do similar things, like Cardi B, for example.
Right.
Cardi B will make music all day, every day, talking about taking a man for his money, tying him up, having him robbed, all this other stuff. Yet she's a wife and a mother of two and is not doing any of that stuff. But, this ratchetness is becoming a mainstay, culturally speaking. And that's the dangerous part inherent in it, because I believe as ratchet as they come, whether it's her or any of these other rappers coming up who are like on this stuff, at the end of the day, I still believe that it's part of a woman's core to desire to be in a relationship context and, for lack of a better term, claimed by a man. Now, your rhetoric and the way that you're living your life is counterintuitive to that natural instinct, but the natural instinct is never going to go anywhere. So eventually you're going to have to reconcile your rhetoric and your ideology with what you claim to want, and decide whether it's worth the price of waiting until your wealth past your prime to finally live out what your natural instinct is, in lieu of this immediate gratification of golden showers and, I guess, Louboutin shoes and, private jets or whatever else women like them think that they need in order to believe that they're happy in a relationship context. So it's an interesting thing to think about. At the end of the day, I'm not necessarily going to judge her, because I accept all of this for what it is. I just say, so long as she's being honest with who she is, so be it. And every other woman like that, as long as they are honest with who they are, then so be it. And for any other woman who ain't about that life, but you romanticize over the idea of being about that life, just decide whether regular golden showers in exchange for a particular type of lifestyle is worth that price to pay. Because, clearly she has decided that her self-respect and dignity is a moot point compared to what she gets in exchange for admitting these things publicly. But then again, to women like her, there's a different bar or standard or line of demarcation when it comes to self-respect. Like, to women like this, being peed on doesn't mean that you lack self-respect. So it's a fundamentally different way that I look at this versus people like this. And, to each their own. I just say, at the end of the day, you know who you are. And if you are someone who wants to have your Rolodex, who wants to, stick and move, do how you please, date in a masculine way, have your rotation of men, and do whatever you want, then yeah, moving in with a guy certainly is counterintuitive to continuing to live like that. But if you're not about that life, then don't listen to any of this, because it doesn't make sense and it's dumb, because it's actually the opposite. If a guy wants you to move in with him, chances are it's a good sign that it's going somewhere. So don't fight it, just go along with it. Unless you're a city girl, in which point go along with what Young Miami is saying, free sex, no consequences.
Yeah, it's gonna be that moment, when they thought they wanted it from the guy that they liked, and then they're just gonna look in the mirror and go, damn, this is too serious for me. I see him every day. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's why I'd be telling them, I'm like, hey, look, we're gonna get tired of each other. We live with each other. We're gonna see each other all the time. Ain't no need to be up under each other all the time. It's gonna be a burnout. It's gonna be a point where you're tired of hearing me breathe or how I chew my food. It's like, damn, nigga, just chew it the right way. It's gonna be that moment. I'm like, huh? What did I do? And so it's a point where you got to be able to be mature enough to see past all of that. Not always want the dopamine rushes of being single, because that's over. You've now committed to a person by moving in with that person. But that's too serious for modern people, period, right now. That's too serious. And so, you know, I don't recommend it unless the people are being serious about it, you know. And honestly, with the way that mortgage prices and rent prices are going up right now, cohabitation is going to have to be a thing. So people going to have to start, you know, splitting incomes and, you know, split income to home or whatever, because the cost of living right now is not a joke. So now more than ever, marriage needs to be more emphasized, but people aren't even ready to move in. So she's speaking to a large constituency. There was a lot of people that were in her fan base, I'm sure, that had some kickback to it. But moreover, as we already stated, the city girls, the city girls philosophy. This is hand in hand of what they believe. And so why would you move in, city girl? So mature ladies, we still see you out there and we appreciate you.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to get to a point where people, like, we're going to forget the reason why we even started doing things the way we do them in the first place. Like this whole, you know, women dating in a masculine way was in direct response to women wanting to be able to do the same things as men. Because like men have always been able to be hoes, so why can't we be hoes too? So now it's become more culturally acceptable. But you know, over time, it'll get pervasive enough to the point where in which we'll forget what the original purpose of it is, and it'll just become a natural way of life without even giving it a second thought. You know, and I think we've all at this point experienced some of this to varying degrees. And so, yeah, I think that the place that she's coming from, it is, I'm kind of on your side with that. I just think she's looking at it from the standpoint of, well, I can't do my thing if I live with them. And she's right. She can't. So it's like it entirely depends on what school of thought you come from. And the only thing that I can say is just know who you are and know what your school of thought is. Don't fit a square peg into a round hole. If you are of the city girl school of thought, then be that. But don't do that, but then talk about how you want to be a wife and all of this other stuff. Because when you get into it, it ain't going to work because you're not going to like it. And you're going to realize that you should have just been yourself the entire time. So,
bro,
and vice versa to the other side.
And mark my words, pull this up 4 years later, 5 years later, when Young Miami moves in with somebody. Pull this up. I called this. She's going to want to do this.
Yeah, she is.
So that's why this is dumb. This is dumb for her to say, because she's going to want to move in one day, and she is. Right. And then she's just going to go against her word. So I put the prediction out there. She's going to be moving in with some rapper, man. So don't listen to this, ladies.
I agree.
It's false gospels.
Yeah, you know, in my opinion, I say don't listen to it. But you know, I'm just being typical man here.
Rent too high, ladies. Whatever. Rent too high. Y'all better start sharing. Stop the thought and start sharing.
Yeah, facts. Oh well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, 2023, man. 2023.